Two big African politicians, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, were voted into office into what we call one of the biggest powerhouses in Africa, talking about the east of Africa. But what exactly is happening now in that country is that the president is not in good terms with his deputy, William Ruto. But the country is going into an election, and that is on August 9. We'll be looking at that election and see if there is any kind of nexus between what we saw leading up to the 2003 election in Nigeria between then President Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar. And again, we'll also be looking at Nigeria's 2023 election. I'll be going live to Nairobi, Kenya, where David Matsanga will be joining me to look at the elections in Kenya and the candidates of that election, William Ruto and, of course, Raila Odinga. I'm Sulaiman. Welcome to The Square. You know, in politics, there are no friends forever, and enemies are never permanent. Every situation and its unique characteristics are the major determinants of what transpires between politicians. Now, the Kenyan elections throw up an interesting story as a story of real politics. The August 9 elections pits Vice President William Ruto of the Kenyan Kwanza directly against four-time presidential candidate and leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga. There are various issues making the Kenya election a unique one. The topical issues of tribalism are there with Odinga, a Luo man back to become the first Kenyan outside the dominant Kikuyu and Kalenjin tribes to become president. Now, while 56-year-old Ruto is favored in some parts of Kenya for his comparative youthfulness, as Odinga is 77, the incumbent of Kenyan president, Kenyatta has stood solidly behind his former foe, Odinga. Now, Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta's father, was the first indigenous president of Kenya, while Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Raila's father, was the first vice president of the country. Now, quite an interesting story, and that's why we're going over to one man who understands the dynamics of Kenyan politics, David Matsanga. Good to see you, David, and thanks for your time as always.
Thank you very much, News Central. And thank you very much. Congratulations for coming on the international scene that we shall be seen by millions and millions of people across the world. And thank you very much. That is why I fight for Africa. I want a better Africa like this one. Thank you very much for doing so. And I'm honored to be here in the first place, being one of the first people to test your equipment.
And the feeling is mutual, David. Thank you for your time. You've always been here for the continent. Now, let's dig in deep. The stories in Kenya are a massive one, David. Now, what will be the major determinants going into next Tuesday's election, especially for non-Kenyans who are trying to make sense of what's happening?
First of all, the politics in Kenya. Every 5 years in Kenya, there has been quite a lot, except in 2000 and 2013. In 2007, 2008, Kenya fell into a crisis created by elections. And as you know very well, Sulaiman, my position as Dr. Matsanga, I have told you already about elections in Africa, that if I ever get a chance, one of the things that I will stop and then educate the people on what it means by having elections. If elections in Africa are going to make people fight, hate each other, kill each other, destroy property, burn property, maim people, rape people, that is not the type of thing that I would like to have in Africa. We like to have something that when you vote, you go back home tomorrow and listen to the results. But it's not in the case in this country. In this country, Kenya, the apprehension has been so high. the rate of hatred has been so high. The candidates almost want to eat each other. They want to kill each other when they see each other. There's nobody saying
and why is that so? Because this is 2022. Many have thought that by now Kenyans would have learned, the lessons. For instance, the Deputy President, William Ruto, has accused the presidency and Odinga of stopping him from campaigning on famous Odinga strongholds. What does this mean to this election?
No. Nobody has stopped Ruto from campaigning in Odinga's strongholds. Ruto has been campaigning for the last 4 years. It is unfortunate that it is coming to dawn to him that the elections in Kenya are not done like a sprint. They are done like a marathon. Elections in Africa are not a sprint. It is a marathon. The gentleman, Raila Amolo Odinga, came from 0%. And today he is ahead of Ruto by almost 6 points. And by next Tuesday, the exit poll, which I have been telling you on this television station before, it will be around 53, 55, minus +2. So Ruto is himself to blame. Nobody has stopped him from going to campaign in Raila Odinga's backyard. He has been campaigning in President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard, instigating people, inciting people to insult the President of the Republic of Kenya.
But Deputy President Ruto is the one saying that he's been stopped. Until this moment, we haven't heard anything from the presidency or the Odinga's camp denying that. So
let me tell you that Ruto is one man who can cry about the shadow passing. I know him very well. He's one of the youngest people. He's younger than me in age, and I grew up much earlier, and he can cry.
And you think this is a case of crying wolf?
He's crying wolf, yes. Even today he cried tears in church. Maybe one of the problems that he's crying is because he's remembering some of the bad things that he has done to some of the people and the families. And that's why maybe he's crying at the moment. He's crying because he has a problem now. He's not being stopped. The Electoral Commission has not received any complaint of any candidate in Kenya being stopped from going to campaign.
But in this case, allow me to take you back a bit so that we can better understand this. In this case, it looks as if Deputy President Ruto is the man to beat, because look at the elections and look at the campaigns. On the big day, it was only the Deputy President who stood in that particular campaign. Debate. We couldn't find Raila Odinga, who is a veteran politician in Kenya.
I warned you, Sulaiman, and I told you before the debate came. You brought me on this platform with one of Ruto's men called Ngeno, and I told you that Raila Amolo Odinga and some candidates are not coming because the debate was not well organized. You cannot segment presidency. The people are going to talk about the presidents of Republic of Kenya. All of them are equal. They are all candidates. You don't segment them. You don't tell the other that you come at 8, the other one will come at 3. No, these were candidates who should have been put on the same platform. That one I blamed the organizers, and I told you that Raila will not attend, and Mr. Wajikoya will not attend. And I was good at it. As usual, I predicted quite a lot. You can't segment an interview. We should have put these people on the same platform so that we can choose, so that the people of Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world who want to do business in Kenya can choose whom they want. But if you say the second tier, you have already segregated them. That's not a debate at all.
And so that's a big flaw on the part of the organizers, as highlighted by you. But listening to you, you started off by talking about the very ugly experience of Kenya, looking at the 2007 experience, which must be prevented by all means. So how can Kenya prevent post-election violence? Because the vibe people are getting from the camps, especially of these two major candidates, doesn't really look like that of peace.
I don't think there will be any violence from people, but there will be contestation from the same candidates, because both of the candidates, they rarely agree on a number of things. But I don't think the people of Kenya would like to see violence again. The people of Kenya are determined to have a free and fair election. There might have been a few hiccups in the electoral system and the electoral management, but we have some of us who have been critics have withdrawn and said, it's all right, we can't go on complaining, let's see how the results come. And Kenya has got a mechanism, very serious mechanism has been put down in Kenya. And before you you are declared a candidate, you're a winner of the election, you must go through several stages. President Uhuru Kenyatta has about 29 days still to be in power in this country, because there will be a transition. There will be 14 days of an election petition to the Supreme Court on the presidency. Before that 14 days, before they elapse, then the transition committee must perform what the court has decided. If there is no outright winner of 50+1%, then the Electoral Commission will declare another voting. That will take us up to October, and we might have a new president in November. But if there is an outright winner, and the court, there is no petition, and the court does not nullify any election, or the court upholds the election, President Uhuru Kenyatta has got 29 days from today to be in. Yes.
So, sorry to butt in there. You're quite an expert in African affairs matters specifically. Tell us, let's jump into the regions. There are regions and counties that make huge differences during elections in Kenya. Where should the candidates be looking at for strength?
Repeat the last question. You said candidates looking at what?
Yeah. Where should the candidates be looking at for majority votes?
Majority votes, of course. African politics is based on tribal inclination. There is nowhere in the world where, even in Britain, when the British see a Scottish Prime Minister on a ballot on the Labour Party, they will fail him. That is the politics of the whole world. Anybody who has studied political science, like me, to a level of an international last iota, I wouldn't say there is anything wrong. So that one has been duplicated on the African continent. For example, in your country, the majority of the voters as over 220 million. There was 84 million voters registered in the other last elections. Only 28 million voted. But who are the majority of the voters? The biggest tribe in your country is the Igbo. If you look at them, they influence the Ashanti, the Zulu, the Shona, the Baganda, the Kikuyu. All these are big tribes. The Dinka in Sudan, the Oromo in Ethiopia. All these influence elections. And therefore, African democracy has not evolved to a level that we can ignore tribal inclinations. We still have tribal inclinations as a rule to ascend to power. Museveni, when he came to power in Uganda, he used the Baganda as the biggest tribe with over 7 million voters and over a population of about half of the country of our country, Uganda. And he won the election and he stayed in power because he has used the Baganda. He has not gone to a minority place. He comes from a minority tribe, but here he is. He has used the Baganda to stay in power. The same has happened in South Africa, only that the South African system, which is a proportional representation, delivers you candidates without a fight after the election. So
okay. Listening to you, now let's go to Kikuyu, because both Ruto and Odinga have gone for Kikuyu running mates. That says a lot about the importance and popularity of that tribe. Do you think it will determine the outcome of the election?
First of all, the Kikuyu, it depends which type of Kikuyu. Kikuyus don't like thieves, don't like people who steal. Kikuyu like decent people. The Kikuyu work hard. It is like the Baganda. They work hard. They go and develop their businesses. On the question of candidates, since they are not here, I want to say allegedly that one of the candidates was even convicted by the court, and that is the one who is deputizing Deputy President William Ruto. He was convicted by the same judiciary and told that you are corrupt. Therefore, I don't know how that candidate, if there is any petition in court after this election, how will he face the same judges who had actually convicted him?
So how does it work that a deputy president, if you say he was convicted in Kenya, is still allowed to continue running as deputy president and also as a candidate of his party?
That is what the question everybody is asking. The two candidates have chosen the Kikuyu running mates. Martha Karua is not tainted with any corruption that you can find. Raila Odinga has no corruption tag, but the other team has got a tag of corruption, a perception, even if it is one is proved now that he actually took money. He took money, he swindled money. He made people die in hospitals, and the people could not get medicine. So he has been, that such a person now needs to be looked at as a person who can kill if he takes power. So that one is the dent on his election on Kenya Kwanza of Ruto. The Kikuyu have about 5 to 6 million votes. Therefore, every candidate in Kenya would like, after collecting votes in all parts of the country, would like to come to have a share. Originally, Ruto had mastered the entire Kikuyu. But right now, with President Uhuru Kenyatta coming back and saying, hello, I was mishandled. My Jupiter ran away and left me alone to execute duties. My Jupiter went away, went on picking money allowances for free when he was not working. I sent him to look at the roads, the hospitals. He went to do a campaign. So he has got a point here, and the Kikuyu vote is slowly being eaten towards Raila's side. Therefore, if the voter turnout does not come to 70, Ruto will go home very early.
And for some, they think that William Ruto, the deputy president, is the underdog, and you know the love people have for underdogs. Looking at the Kenyatta and the Odinga families, they are arguably the biggest political dynasties in Kenya. So don't you think Ruto is now being seen as a breakaway from the elite ruling class?
I want the international community to know that Ruto has been a parasite of dynasties. He has been eating from, have you known what an African tick is? An African tick that eats your blood. And the Ruto has never worked anywhere where he got the money. Ruto has been working with all the Moi government, Kanu government, doing so many dubious things, including YK92, which is a very historical and very dangerous movement in Kenya that killed so many people. And therefore, when he says himself is a hustler, he can't be a hustler, surely. He can't be a hustler when he actually worked with these people. He got the money from Moi and got the money from the Kenyatta family. When you create, no, wait first. Sulaiman, when you create a class struggle, when you are in political science, the moment you create a class struggle, it turns out to haunt you. Because how are people, we don't see anybody on Ruto's executive who is the lowest of the ranks, who is not a dynasty, who is not a person. The perception that people have taken, that's why the government had to be very tough, that if you have a big car, a Range Rover, like yours, which you have in Lagos, you are perceived to be a dynasty. And that type of politics is the worst politics that can plunge a country into chaos. And therefore, he abandoned that. He now doesn't use those words. He says he's being persecuted. Ruto is a sympathy collector. He cries, but he forgot one story, that Jesus came from Nazareth. But when the Nazareth people heard that Herod and Pilate were putting nails in Jesus' flesh, the people of Nazareth went and said, "Give us our son, we take him back." So the people of the mountain Kenya, of Mount Kenya, have had enough of insults that Ruto is throwing at Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now let's understand this, especially for those who are watching from outside Kenya, to better understand this. You recall, I also know that you've also been an election observer in quite a number of African countries, Nigeria inclusive. Recall what transpired in 2003, leading up to the 2003 election, talking about President Obasanjo and his vice president at that time, Atiku Abubakar. Now, let us in on what exactly has gone wrong with the president, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, not backing his deputy, William Ruto, but backing someone ordinarily before now was the opposition candidate.
Yes, you know why Uhuru backed somebody? Because Uhuru said, let's have unity of purpose. Let me tell you, it is better to leave a country when it is united than to have a country when it's shattered. A country that is shattered with conflicts. Most of us have stayed in exile for 37 years because our countries were shattered with conflict. It is not very good to leave a country which is fragmented, where there are wars, where people want to kill each other, where the tribes want to fight. This country has had presidency from two tribes only. That is Ruto's tribe and Uhuru Kenyatta's tribe. So what Uhuru Kenyatta said, please, this time, let the presidency go somewhere else. Let other people also have the presidency. The two tribes have dominated the politics of Kenya, which is also not democratic. And that is all what Uhuru said. Two, Uhuru wanted to stop violence. You remember in 2017, 2018, after the nullification of the elections, the violence on the streets of Nairobi were worse. Property was being killed. People were being killed. We lost so many people. And what can you do? You can't sit down and watch your country going to the dogs. And so what Uhuru did as a mature politician, not a naive and a juvenile politician like some of the politicians on the continent of Africa, including Ruto, who wanted to fight Raila and lock up Raila in jail. Uhuru refused. Uhuru said, I'm not going to lock up Raila in jail. I want to negotiate and shake hands with Raila. The handshake that brought peace, stabilized Kenya, brought investment, brought infrastructure, brought schools, brought roads, brought hospitals. The climate that we enjoy today, the freedom that most of us, I'm not a Kenyan, but I enjoy freedom to do business in Nairobi, is because of that handshake. Ruto did not want that. Ruto wanted Raila to be locked up, Raila to be put in prison, and Uhuru refused. And Uhuru said, I'm going.
Now we're closing. Speak to us, because we have two big elections on the continent. First, August 9, Kenyans will be going to the polls. And for 2023, Nigeria will also be going into an election. We've seen how formidable and effective the handshake has been in Kenya, bringing all politicians together. What can Africa, Nigeria inclusive, learn from the handshake as a closing comment from you, Dr. Matsanga?
Thank you very much. I want to tell you that I have taken the theory of Uhuru Kenyatta as a legacy of a handshake, and I'm selling it to Africa. One of the first countries that is going to hammer an agreement is the president of Zimbabwe and the leader of opposition, Chamisa. I have been working behind the scenes to make sure that the president shakes hands with the opposition leader so that they mold their country. A handshake is the best way. A handshake, we Africans are not yet up we don't have the ability to be democratic, not yet. We have not reached that level. We took a concept which was not well educated, well given to us. We have not learned what democracy is. We don't know what elections are. We kill each other. We wait to hate each other because of elections. We should now sit back and look at what can Africa do? Can we do a renaissance? Can Africa change the course by not having constantly every 5 years of elections, which will bring chaos, not joy? Can Africa change mechanisms, their voting systems, to proportional representation, like South Africa, such that when you elect, you go back to work in your studio in Lagos and wait for results? Until we reach that time, I think elections in Africa will be contentious, will be a thing of a trigger to chaos that we see our people going through in Nigeria. Already there are tensions. You can see what is in Nigeria today. A lot of tension. People have wasted time. Some of them want even Mr. Buhari to be impeached. This is because, it's because of elections. They want him impeached and be thrown out so that the other party can win. All these things are part and a parcel of Africa not knowing what elections are, not knowing how to deal with an opponent once you have defeated him.
All right, okay.
And knowing how to embrace the winner.
Dr. David Matsanga, I'd like to thank you for your time, and we do hope that Dr. Matsanga will be back again on August 9. He's going to be live with us in the studios as we cover the Kenya general elections. Once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, and thank you. Keep it up. This is what we want in Africa. This is Africa, by Africa, with Africa. That is what we want.
Thank you very much. Coming up on the square, the 2023 Nigerian general elections are upon us, and the time is ticking. Kassim Afegbua will be joining me when we return. Stay with us. Well, the 2023 general elections is considered an important one to the redemption of Nigeria. Nigerians have had to spend the last 7 years asking important questions about what's next as a people. Now, the presidential election, which is seen as the most important, has been narrowed down to a 4-horse race between the candidates of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso. In the marketplace, on the streets, on newspaper stands, in the dwelling places of the elites on social media, the 2023 presidential election and who is the right fit for Nigeria is the hottest topic. Now, every word, action, and step by these candidates are placed under the microscope as the choice of Nigeria's next president becomes a decision more important than ever in history. And one of those who's actually spoken about this getting into a 4-horse race is Kassim Afegbua. He's a political analyst. Kassim, good to see you and thanks for joining us. You saw this long ago before so many other persons. How did you narrow it down, especially when you started talking about third force and a dark horse?
Well, Sulaiman, let me formally congratulate you and all members of News Central for birthing this wonderful news platform. It's long overdue. I know what you have gone through to put this together. So I want to commend your management and owners and those who are the drivers of this news platform. I must commend you. Since 2 days now, I've glued myself to your television station. You are doing fantastically well, and God continue to bless you and give you the wherewithal to sustain this particular platform. Amen. Talking about dark horse, third force, and all of that. I told you before that 2023 elections will be an unusual one. Unusual in the sense that Nigerians are getting more enlightened day by day, talking about, owning their destiny.
Well, I think that seemed to be a glitch there. I hope Kassim is back. Well, many thanks for putting your channel on DSTV 422, Kassim. And Kassim actually is also a columnist and also someone who's been writing. And he wrote an article recently where he mentioned some of the things that... Okay, Kassim, I see you're back. Let me quickly jump on the article you wrote recently where you wrote some things. You said you considered some major differences between Bola Tinubu and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Let us in on some of these things you penned down.
Well, thank you very much, Sulaiman. You see, the point is, I've stated my position very clearly that the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is running against the run of play. You see, after 8 years of President Buhari in the north, in 2023, May 29 to be specific, it's only natural that power should come to the south. And now we have Bola Tinubu in the south, we have Peter Obi in the south. So I'm hoping that Nigerians, particularly from the northern part of the country, will see the need, for us to have a president of Nigeria of southern extraction. That is one. Secondly, I want to commend the initiative of the APC governors from the north, who in their wisdom decided that the ticket of the party should go to the south, because in their reasoning, which is very perfect in my own context, after Buhari 8 years, it should naturally come to the south. And now that Tinubu has been given the ticket, it's only a responsibility for all of us to join hands and ensure that there's southern presidency. Of course, Peter Obi is having his supporters all over the place. They are also marching together. That is not a problem. For me, as far as it is the southern presidency, I'm good with that. So as it is now, you can also compare Tinubu with Atiku Abubakar. Tinubu knows how to rally around people. He knows how to cultivate solid minds. He knows how to use brains to achieve whatever he set out to achieve. As a governor of Lagos State, He did so well. The people he put in place, they are still succeeding, and at least turning Lagos around. You can't tell me that Lagos is the same as it used to be in 1999. To date, the line of succession there is they have been trying. Fashola did a good job. Ambode did a good job, and now Sanwo-Olu is also trying his best. So for me, a man who has the capacity to rally around minds, great minds, who has the capacity to also rally around people, will be better to serve the country than someone who they keep telling you, oh, he has experience, he has experience. I don't know where this experience is coming from.
Are you saying experience, Kassim? Are you saying experience doesn't count? For instance, you've worked in close capacities with Atiku in the past, and you also mentioned the 2019 election tribunal as a major determinant in how you view his candidacy. What was your experience like?
You see, what I'm saying in essence is that in politics, experience matters. But where do you get this experience from? He has never been a local government chairman, which is an executive position. He has never been a governor, which is an executive position. He was only a vice president, which by our constitution is an auxiliary position to that of the president. It is what the president says you should do that you can do. The function of the vice president in the constitutions are very lame. So what I'm saying in essence that you cannot compare Atiku with a Tinubu who was a senator, that's a lawmaker, he's got legislative experience, who was a governor for 8 years, he's got executive experience, or an Obi who was governor for 8 years. So in terms of experience, you have to give the credit to an Atiku over to Bola Tinubu over an Atiku. You can't run away from that. That is also not taking away the fact that Bola Tinubu has been around for a long time. He fought the military. He was part and parcel of the process that birthed this democracy. Those of them who are contesting in other parties today were nowhere to be seen when the fight for democracy was on. Of course, Tinubu went on exile, participated actively, rallied around people, coordinated a lot of onslaught against the military that birthed this democracy in 1999. So you must give him credit. And this is the first time.
And don't you think you should also give credit to Vice President Atiku Abubakar? He was vice president for 8 years. He oversaw the privatization of quite a number of businesses in the country. And
Sulaiman, don't go there, please. Don't go there. Privatization of what? Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was a vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Whatever decision he took were purely the decision of the president and nothing but the president. You cannot have two masters or two captains in a ship. It is one at a time. So he only assisted Obasanjo to pursue Obasanjo's policies and programs. And so even the privatization you're talking about, if you dig into the records, you will see all the flaws and all the foibles, all the corruption and all of that. So please don't let us even go there. I'm saying that for a man who has been looking for presidency for 30 solid years, it's about time he takes the back seat so that other persons can try their hands. And that was what gave rise. His desperation to be president was gave rise for PDP to jettison his zoning as contained in his own constitution, Article 7, Subsection 3C. So what I'm saying in essence is that...
Do you blame Atiku for that? Because I recall leading up to the primaries of the PDP, you were here on Village Square Africa and we spoke about the need for that to move to Nigeria's southern region. But it was high-powered politics against those who stood for that election, specifically the man whom you were giving your backing then, the present governor of Rivers State in southern Nigeria. So why put the blame on Atiku, who had a finer, politics to emerge?
You see, the point is this, Sulaiman. I will blame Atiku because if Atiku, as an elder statesman at 76, 77, who did not agree to take the back seat, others were copying him. Other northern aspirants, Tambuwa, Saraki, and others were copying him. And Bala Mohammed were copying him that if Atiku can be contested, why won't they contest? If he wanted to play the back seat role, he ought to have, say, well, I'm not an elder statesman at 77. I don't think it's proper for me to be contesting with this young man. Let me rally around the party together. Let's choose a candidate from the South. And that candidate, I'll pull my string around him and deliver for the party. He's not doing that. They keep telling you, oh, it's only Atiku that can win an election for PDP. It's only Atiku that can win for the... I don't know where that is coming from. The point is, you cannot build justice on injustice. The justice in the system is the existence of the zoning formula. The injustice is jettisoning that zoning formula and allowing everybody to participate. If there was no provision in the Constitution of PDP...
Sorry to butt in here again. There's an accord that a lot of people are still not talking about. Then you are still a member of the PDP, the Asaba Accord. And the man who played host to that accord, the present governor of Delta State in southern Nigeria, who's also the running mate of Atiku Abubakar, seemed to have actually, changed the course of a decision arrived in that accord. How did that come to members of, that particular party that held in Asaba Delta State?
You see, it is still part of the subterfuge, manipulation, gerrymandering, and insincerity that a lot of our politicians are known for. And some of us who have the capacity to interrogate them, when we look them into the eyeballs, to tell them the home truth, they see us, they call us names. Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, the governor of Delta State, disappointed a lot of us because there was an Asaba Accord where all the 17 governors of the South took a decision, that presidency should come to the South. But in no unmistakable terms, when that accord was reached, Okowa was going through the back door to go and give support to his preferred aspirant, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who later emerged as the candidate today. We didn't know that he had his own ulterior motive. We didn't know that he had his own plot, his own plans to become the running mate. We didn't want second fiddle. And I remember telling you on this, your television, on your TV platform, then online, that whether anyone likes it or not, if the PDP decide to cede its ticket to a northern candidate, that I personally will leave the party and support any party that gives to a southern candidate. And to that extent, I was impressed, and I want to commend the northern governors of the APC. They took a decision, they met with the president and said, no, after you, it should be in south, so that this level of distrust and mistrust that exists between the north and the south will not continue, to fan the embers of disunity and discord. We need political harmony. We need to, we need to engage issues, constructively engage, collectively bargain, so that we can forge, a way forward. That's why today I have left the PDP formally. I'm not going to support an Atiku candidacy. No, I'm going to support a Tinubu candidacy in the 2023 election. And I'm not going to join the APC. I'm just going to be an ordinary Nigerian who is a voter and who can also be voted for.
Well, you just said you're going to support the Tinubu candidacy, because I was going to ask because you're a strong proponent of a southern presidency, and already you have two candidates from southern Nigeria, Bola Tinubu and Peter Obi. What do you make of the buzz around Peter Obi and his party, the Labour Party?
Well, Peter Obi is a good candidate, no doubt. He's a southerner. He's from the southeast geopolitical zone. But I tell people that until we begin to carry out deliberate conscientization, mobilization of persons and voters, without you having political structure, it might be difficult for you to win in the final election. Don't forget that Obi went to Osun to campaign for his candidate, the governorship candidate. I can't remember the figures they scored now. It's not sharing news. They participated in the Ekiti election. I can't see sharing news. But those of his supporters whom I have spoken to told me that they are only interested in Peter Obi on the ballot. That's Labour Party. That's fine. But you see, the burden on Obi will be too heavy to carry. How do I mean? In political party politics, you need candidates for House of Assembly election. You need candidates for House of Reps. You need candidates for governorship. We need candidates for other positions. so that when you are not there, those candidates will be campaigning for you. But in this case, Labour Party is not strong enough to, to garner all of these candidates who also should be running election and by extension campaigning for Peter Obi. But it's okay. It's a candidate, it's a material for 2027. I don't see that happening in 2023. If he sustains this movement and this buzz, he will get to 2027. It will be a good showing for us. But as per Tinubu has paid his dues.
So if you say he's a candidate, I'm still going to look at another candidate, Konkonso. But before then, quickly here, you just said Peter Obi is a candidate for 2027. Does that imply that the man you're supporting, Bola Tinubu, should do just one term?
No, Tinubu is an APC candidate. Obi is a Labour Party candidate. So in 2027, Labour Party may have been able to galvanize enough support that can uproot even an incumbent president, whether you like it or not. You see, all you need to do is to sustain the struggle and ensure that you're able to mobilize, conscientize people to buy into your aspiration. And gradually, people will now be fed up with the process, and that can also help to build structure that can sustain the struggle from now to 2027. I am seeing 2023 as too close for Obi, but he's going to pull a lot of votes from the southern part of the country, no doubt about that. And so from the north, well, I don't see him showing strong presence from the northern part of the country.
Now let's jump into the northern part. Again, apologies for butting in, and that's Musa Rabiu Konkonso. He's got a massive political army, the Konkonsier. Do you think he's gunning to become president or presenting a force others can run to for support?
Well, Rabiu Musa Konkonso, incidentally, is also a friend. I interact with him every now and then. And he's one man whose supporters wanted him to be on the ballot. That was why he pulled out of PDP. I prevailed upon him not to leave, that he should be within the PDP and support the aspiration of Governor Wike. But he didn't turn out that way, so he left and took NNPP. You cannot wish him away with respect to his support across the Northwest states and even some part of the country, because he has a register of his supporters across the 36 states of the Federation. Whether those supporters can mass together the kind of figure that will represent 25% in 2/3 of the states is another matter altogether. But like politics, I'm expecting that Tinubu will reach out to a man like Konkonso and do some level of bargain so that in the final analysis, a Konkonso will be supporting a Tinubu so that the prosecution of 2023 election will be much easier. I don't want a situation where we'll be leaving one northern president and we're handing over to another northern president in a country of 36 states with our northern and southern protectorate dichotomies. I don't expect that. I would prefer, and I'm still standing, that a southern president in 2023 is a better representation of the country than having another northerner to continue from where President Buhari.
Now let's close on this. Kassim Afegbua, you seem to have a crystal ball, a political crystal ball. You were the first to resign from the government of Adams Oshiomhole, then governor, because you weren't satisfied with his choice of the present governor, Godwin Obaseki. You say, well, it's a bad deal. And you were also spot on when you also left the APC at that point in time. And true to your word, you've also left the PDP on account of not getting the southern ticket. Now, let's look at that Kassim Afegbua political crystal ball. What do you see happening in 2023? A runoff or an outright win?
Well, I wrote a piece about 2 weeks ago where I said that there's a likelihood that there will be a runoff. And somebody sent me a message saying that, oh, this is the position of National Democratic Institute. I said, no. I spoke to News Central about a month and a half ago where I posited that there's likelihood that there will be a runoff. You see, for one candidate to score 25% in 2/3 of the states and having majority votes it might be difficult in 2023, particularly with the kind of awareness, with the kind of mobilization that is presently going. You can't wish Peter Obi away, not at all. You'll be doing that at your own peril. You can't wish a Kwankwaso away. That's why I would prefer a Tinubu reaches out to Kwankwaso so that they can strike a deal. And again, you can also wish Atiku away as the candidate of the PDP. So all the four candidates are formidable. Of course, the APC candidate has an edge. They have 21 state governors. PDP has 14. So that alone is a plus for the APC. And if they're also able to rally around a man like Kwankwaso and all of that, it can make their journey much easier. But in terms of leaving the fray as it is now, allowing all the four candidates to contest in 2023 with the INEC introduction of BVAS, bimodal verification accreditation system, is going to be pretty difficult for one candidate or for persons to rig elections or manipulate the process if we are to go by the standard that the Osun and Ekiti elections have just shown us. So I'm of the opinion that I wouldn't want an Atiku to be president of this country. I would prefer APC candidate, Tinubu. Others would prefer Peter Obi, no doubt about that. I can't choose two candidates. I will have to stay with one. They have their right. I have my right. So I'm entitled to my opinion. And so to that extent, if power comes to the South in 2023, there will be some level of balance, some level of quiet, some level of tranquility, other than, different from when if a northerner succeeds Buhari again, is going to spell doom for the politics of this country, for the oneness of this country, for the unity of this country. And that is what I'm afraid of. So a disparate country like Nigeria with so many ethnic multiplicities, so many configurations, you need to balance the equation. And whether anyone likes it or not, balancing that equation also leads to political stability. If you don't have it, you cannot translate what you have in your manifesto to practice. You can't even execute your projects and programs. And so I am of the view that the southern presidency
that's a place for us to say many thanks for being such nice company as always, Kassim Afegbua.
Thank you very much and congratulations once again.
Many thanks. And thank you all for watching across the continent. I'm Sulaiman. See you again.